Excuse me. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Good evening and welcome to our Tuesday evening meditation and Dhamma talk program. We're returning to this after our 2 months of winter retreat. This is our first Tuesday program where we talk for a while. So thank you all for joining us. Appreciated having the time sitting with you in silence on Tuesdays over the past couple months, and also nice to be back and talking. So today our plan is that we're going to reflect together on our just past winter retreat time, share some of what we were able to develop during that time, and what we've been thinking about, how that informs our practice now. And inviting anyone who was with us during the retreat time also, if you have anything you'd like to share, we'll have some time for reflections and sharing. But we will begin with meditation, as usual. And I'm going to try to bring us back into our retreat mindset by review of this book that we started with, Relax and Be Aware. This is Sayadaw U Tejaniya's book. And he has some lovely guided meditations in here. And just to refresh our memory, take ourselves back to February when we were beginning this practice of receptive awareness. I'd like to start with one of his guided meditations. So again, this was part of the first month of our retreat, was the practice focusing on receptive awareness. And then the second month going to metta and the awakening factors. So I'd like to start this meditation with receptive awareness, and then we'll end it with a little metta. And then we'll have some time of sharing and reflection about our retreat experiences together. So begin just inviting everyone into their meditation posture. So sitting in a way that is upright, balanced, taking a moment to settle in, feeling the body resting on the earth. And bringing attention to the spine, from the base of the spine, going up vertebra by vertebra, up the back, the neck, straightening and aligning. Feeling grounded on the earth, held upright by the spine. And then everything else just relaxes down. The first step of our meditation really is just to relax. We can go through the body, part by part, just letting go, releasing any tension that might be there. Starting with the top of the head and the face. Just relaxing, releasing any tension in the muscles of the face. The eyes, the jaw. And moving down the body, relaxing the neck and throat. The shoulders. The arms. Just letting the arms hang down. Arranging the hands comfortably. Relaxing the chest. Feeling the rise and fall of the breath. And with each breath, letting go, relaxing, releasing. Feeling the belly rising and falling. And with each out breath, relaxing, releasing. Feeling again the seat where the body makes contact with the chair or the cushion. Feeling grounded, connected to the earth. Feeling any tension in the legs, in the feet, and relaxing. Letting the attention come into this whole body. Aware of this whole body seated here. And relaxing. And we'll go to this meditation from Sayadaw Tejaniya. He says, relax and be aware. Relax and be aware. Many meditators think that being aware means focusing on an object with a great deal of energy. In fact, exertion like this causes tension because it's the result of trying hard to create a positive or happy state of mind, which is actually the unwholesome root of greed at work. Instead, as you maintain continuous awareness of whatever is happening, strike a balance between being relaxed and being interested. When you are relaxed, it is easier to be aware, and it becomes an enjoyable, pleasant, and interesting experience. cultivate your interest in being aware by noticing when interest is present and when it is not. Bring in some interest. It's missing. Interest brings energy to the mind naturally, without straining, focusing, or exertion. It requires no individual effort. And so we can bring interest continuously without getting tired. In fact, observing like this gives us energy and joy. If you look for a result or want something to happen, you will only tire yourself out. It's important to conserve energy so you can practice continuously. So stay relaxed. The meditating mind is naturally relaxed, calm, and peaceful. So when you stay with the meditating mind, you naturally learn to not focus, control, create, constrict, or restrict. Meditation is accepting whatever arises, pleasant or unpleasant, good or bad, and observing it in a relaxed way. So practice in a relaxed way, but don't stop practicing. Check yourself often. Are you tense or relaxed? Check the mind and the body. Any tension in the mind or body indicates you are likely wanting something, disliking something and wanting it to go away, or feeling confused about something. You will notice that tension never takes hold in the mind alone. If there is tension in the mind as the result of the unwholesome roots, then it will be reflected in tension somewhere in the body. Consciously relaxing those physical tensions is a kind of meditation. The awareness we are seeking is unprompted. We are not digging for it. We are simply residing in the ebb and flow of nature itself. See if you can notice this. So we'll sit together in silence for a little while. The instructions are very simple. Just relax and be aware and continue. For the last few minutes of our meditation, I invite you to look into your experience, this relaxed awareness. See if you can find the element of kindness within it. Already there, the friendliness with which you can greet each arising sensation. Relaxed, aware, and welcoming. There's kindness there in this quality of awareness. I invite you to imagine that this kindness is like a sun, shining sun in your heart. Kindness centered there in your heart. Warming and brightening your experience. Be very bright, or it may just be a little flicker. And if you can find this light of kindness centered in your heart, and next, imagine it like you're pulling back a curtain in front of your heart, and that light can shine out in front of you. Light shining in the direction in front of you. Touching any beings who may be in that direction. Shining your kindness on them without exception, without limit. You can draw back the curtain to the right side and let that light of kindness flow out, shine out to the right. Touching any beings who may be in the direction, your right side. And pull back the curtain to your back side. Let this light of kindness spill out, shine out behind you. Any beings who may be behind you, reaching them all without exception, no limits. And opening up the curtain to your left side, letting the light of kindness flow out of your heart, the left side. Shining on any beings who may be in that direction. And above, letting this light of kindness from your heart shine upwards, the sky, touching any beings who may be in that direction. The birds, the insects, any beings, without exception. Opening up below, letting that light of kindness shine down into the earth. With any beings there may be in that direction, without exception. Letting this sunlight of kindness shine in all directions. Filling your experience, filling this body, this mind, this world. And resting in the midst of this field of kindness. No limits. Knowing that this kind of relaxed, kind awareness in all directions is always available to you. Sometimes the sunlight is buried under other things. The sun is shining anyway. You'll always have this sunlight of kind awareness in your heart. Namo Buddhaya. Thank you all for joining us in that practice of meditation and for joining us throughout our recent winter retreat time. Those of you who have been joining week after week, it's very encouraging to have you with us again and again. And so I'm here this evening with Venerable Thavira, who has been with us throughout the retreat time, but more quiet mode. But she's here with us this evening, and she and I are both going to share a little bit about our retreat time experiences, and also welcome any of you who have anything you'd like to share afterwards. So maybe I'll invite Venerable Thavira.
Thank you. Making sure my microphone is working. Yes. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Ratanataya. Yeah, I'm wanting to speak about something that was really a topic of contemplation that was coming up a lot for me during the retreat. And it's really thinking about what it means and what it looks like and what the impact is of really honoring and respecting our elders and our teachers and our ancestors. And, it's maybe not obvious why this was such a topic during this retreat for me. But sometimes that's just how it is. I think there's an element of, as we really immerse ourselves in these teachings and really, try to let them penetrate and really embody them. For me, it can feel like I come up against places where it feels blocked or feels stuck, or I can feel like things are not penetrating somehow. Where these things are really like strong aspects of monastic culture. We're always, kind of aware of where we are in the line of seniority, and we're paying respects to those senior to us, and those junior are paying respects to us. And, friends come and visit and pay their respects and are bowing to us. And of course, we're bowing to the Buddha multiple times every day. And, we have a lot of time with friends who grew up in Buddhist culture and for whom, you can see that they really, these things of paying respects, of respecting the Dhamma, of respecting the Sangha, they're very, very ingrained and very habitual. And you can also see that people find a lot of joy in them and really seek out opportunities to be respectful. We know for our Sri Lankan friends, even among lay people, it's common for children to bow to their parents. And that this is such a part of the culture. And even thinking about honoring our ancestors is something that's part of virtually every culture in the world except ours. And so what is that about? Because we have in American culture we have such strong value of sort of romanticizing youth and kind of youthful rebellion and rebelling against our parents. And all of these things are very strong, and I think there's value in that also. I think there's a lot of value in questioning things and not just taking on sort of what is handed down to us without question. But I think there can be, it feels to me like there's a way that it can become like this sort of cynicism that pervades everything. And, it can turn into a kind of, a skepticism and a cynicism and a feeling like, it's not it's not okay to like give ourselves wholeheartedly to something. We always are kind of holding back. And the Buddha tells us, you recite in the Mangala Sutta, one of the highest blessings is honoring those worthy of honor. And so like, what does it feel like to do that in a really wholehearted way? And, to do that in a way that feels like a joyful thing to do, not like I'm being respectful because I'm supposed to be, or I'm putting on a performance of being respectful, or, I'm acting respectful, but there's a part of me that's like doubting or questioning or, kind of always holding back. And it felt like for me there was, I don't know, a kind of clarity I came to during this time of like, there's a way I can sort of have respect both, like, or kind of keep both of these pieces at once. So both, really looking at what is worthy of honor and what is worthy of respect, and like genuinely, wholeheartedly feeling that and respecting it and trusting it, and also recognizing that there may be things that parts of my conditioning, things that I've been taught, things that I see in others that are harmful, and I need to really have the discernment to really separate those two and be able to sort of trust my judgment of both sides of that. And it's like, if I'm not trying to blend it all together, it's like if it's blended together, then it's like I can't do either properly. It's like there's a part of me that's like, okay, I'm never really like seeing the beauty in the things that I'm being taught because I'm always being cynical, and I'm also never really honoring my own, like really deeply being able to see like, oh, this thing that I maybe learned from my parents, it's not beneficial to me, or this thing, maybe something I see in this tradition is not beneficial. And it's like, I'm not trusting that because I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be respectful. Right? So it's like, how can I really like separate out those two so that I can do both of them wholeheartedly? And then really seeing like, when I can do that, then I can really look at, what does it mean to be part of a tradition and part of a lineage? And that's both, the Dhamma and the Sangha and the Bhikkhuni Sangha and these teachings that are handed down to us, and also the beautiful things in the culture I grew up in, and the beautiful things and beneficial things that I learned from my family. Like, what does it mean to like see myself as part of that lineage and really say like appreciate and really see the generosity of people who have held these traditions and found these really skillful ways of living and being in the world, and then had the incredible generosity to pass them on to others. I think we've all probably been in teaching roles in some way in our lives, whether that's formally or informally. And it's difficult and it's a lot of work, and it's not easy. It's not easy to really like understand and sort of like figure out how to pass on something that we know. It's not easy to communicate necessarily. It's not easy when those we're trying to teach are not receiving it the way we think they should. And just to recognize the extraordinary generosity of the people through millennia who have passed down all these skillful and beautiful things that we've inherited. And to really like feel the generosity and feel the benefit of that has felt like there's this feeling of kind of rootedness of like, oh, like I'm part of this incredible kind of wave of kindness coming down through the years, and how much I've benefited from that in so many ways. And then also in turn for myself to say, okay, what does it mean for me to say like, okay, what have I inherited? What is beneficial? What have I learned that has helped me, that has helped reduce the suffering for me? And how can I then really look at how can I pick that up and hold it and carry it and pass it on, and strengthen what is beneficial and recognize there may be pieces of it that are not, at least not beneficial to me. And say, okay, how can I not pass those parts on? And really just like feeling like there's this feeling of being just like immersed in this flow of kindness. And there's something that just feels so like healing to the heart in that. And like allowing a kind of settling of like, not always like holding back and not always needing to be cynical, and like being able to say no, like I can just discern and I can say this part is beneficial and I will do everything I can to strengthen it and hand it on, and this part is maybe not beneficial and I will respect that there are reasons that that was taught to me and not pass that part on. And yeah, and just like recognizing that there's this way that there feels like there's so much going on right now in our country and in our world of people feeling like things are extremely difficult, and our institutions are untrustworthy and people are untrustworthy, and how can we not just say, oh, it's hard and it's hard to know who to trust and it's this horrible mess of all of this stuff and I'll just like turn away from all of it and give up. So instead of doing that, to say no, like we're inheriting something that has a lot of good and a lot of bad, and there's a way we can actually learn to discern the difference, and really devote ourselves to reinforcing the good and embodying that as well as we're able to, and teaching that to others as well as we're able to. And I think we're obviously here in an incredibly privileged and just beautiful position of we really do see so much goodness in the people who come to us, and we're really this recipient of so much generosity, and in everyone who has passed down these teachings for centuries. And we're in the midst of the revival of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, and to really look around and say, okay, everything we're living in here, none of this existed 50 years ago. Had I been born 50 years ago, I would have had none of these options. And the fact that it's here now is amazing. And so many of the people who are responsible for this being here and being a possibility are still with us. And how can we really just like deeply feel the kindness and generosity of that, and really wholeheartedly respect it, and say, okay, then how can I now play my part and pick up what is worthy of honor and honor it and pass it on from here. So yes, that's been kind of what was really alive for me, or one of the things that was really alive for me during this retreat. So yeah, I think that's all I have to share for now.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. For sharing. Yeah. Yeah, it's true that retreat time, when we start to settle down, then what we find out is like what's underneath the surface. What are the things that are sort of bubbling underneath, and that we may not be able to care for in the same way when we're in the midst of more activity. But then who knows exactly what's going to bubble off and what is going to be your theme of reflection for the retreat. We might have these ideas like, oh, we're doing clear knowing and a boundless heart. And then, you sit down to practice and then there's something that's kind of there. It's like, oh, okay, this is my work now. I've found it. And which might be different for each person, for each of us on a retreat time. We may find something else laid out in our work for us during that time. I remember one time hearing somebody who had just come out of a deep retreat, somebody was asking, oh, how was it? How was your retreat? And they said, oh, it was humiliating. And, I thought sort of like, well, great. not because I want you to be humiliated, but because that means there was something important there. There was some real, like, something deep happening there, if that was the result. And for me, this retreat, I don't know if I would say humiliating exactly, but it wasn't like I was, it wasn't like the super deep samadhi sort of retreat. It was more the sort of, you sit down and you see what's there, and it's like, oh, yep, there are these things that have been bubbling under the surface that, now I get to look at them because I'm not sort of just running around after this or that or the other thing. In our daily lives, we can get distracted. We can, it always feels like there's something more important than looking at these things that are bubbling under the surface in our own heart. But in the retreat time, then you can look and you can see and sort of, excavate that a little bit and understand it a little bit, and try to take care to give it the attention that it needs in order to be resolved in some way, or healed, helped in some way. Yeah. So we had sort of a busy year last year. A lot of activities, a lot going on, some big changes for our community. And, there was sort of a lot just to like keep everything going over the year, a lot of effort and energy going into that. And, as we slow down for the winter retreat, that what I notice is like, oh, I have developed coping mechanisms for being busy. And then when I'm not as busy, those coping mechanisms are still there. They've become a bad habit. And okay, well, what do I do about that? So there's these things, these habits of sort of distraction, of like not, being unsettled. All right, how do I care for that? How do I look at that? And then there's also things in the heart. It's like, there's also, for a certain reason, spent some of my retreat time in correspondence with somebody. There was an interpersonal issue, and I needed to be writing to this person. But I actually really, really valued having the opportunity to do that in a retreat time. In a way, it was like, oh, I don't want to be corresponding with anyone during my retreat. But in another way, it was like, oh, I have the time now that I can sit and really consider my words. Like I can write this thing and then I can read it and go through it and see, oh, is there something sort of stuck and unpleasant in my heart here when I read through this? And if there's any sentence that has that feeling of like, I'm just trying to like jab them or, something, it's like, okay, I have the time. I can slow down, I can take out that sentence, and I can replace it with something else. I can go through, and if there's anywhere that I'm thinking, or I'm saying that something that's not entirely true, and maybe it's partially true, but I'm skewing it or biasing it towards my own perspective, then I can take that out too. And just be like, okay, here's what's true. And here's what's, kind as I know how to be. And I don't think that I, did sort of perfectly with that, but I really, again, I appreciated having the space and time to do that, and that was really like a valuable contemplation, is because it's like in slow motion, in daily life. We have something flares up in an interpersonal context, and we just, you're right there, you're reacting in the moment, and all sorts of stuff can happen. And if we're not not acting with great mindfulness, and we're not infused with relaxed awareness and kindness every moment, then we can do unskillful things. And if we do it again and again, then we're building habits of responding in an unskillful way. And so having the time to like slow down and like, okay, it's in writing and I'm on retreat, and I can just like go through all the things and try to clarify, try to clear it up, clean it up, and see the ways that I still get stuck with it, and learn from that, and try to infuse it with these qualities that we're bringing into meditation, also bringing it into these sorts of things of engaging with the world. And so I really appreciated having that time. We also wrote reflections for our email, emerging from retreat email, and my reflection was about like the natural cycles, different modes and different times. Noticing that, like, I have valued being able to practice in the way that we did during the retreat time. And, then there's a tendency to want to cling to that and be like, oh yes, it should be like this all the time. But, it's not like that all the time. And there's value also in different modes. So, I wrote 2 versions of my reflection. So the one that's in the email you can read, and it has the metaphor of the cowherd. This comes from the Dvaita Sutta, where the Buddha is describing about the mind that's filled with sensual thoughts and thoughts of hatred and thoughts of delusion. And it's like a cowherd who has to, during the season when the crops are going, the cowherd has to keep the cows in line, have a stick and sort of be poking the cows so the cows aren't wandering into the crops and eating them and trampling them and so forth. So the cowherd has to like be really paying close attention during that time. That's like us when those thoughts are overwhelming. We have to pay attention. We have to keep them in line. But for the cowherd, at the end of the season, when there's a harvest, then all the crops have been brought into the village, and there's nothing for the cows to damage anymore out in the fields. And that means the cowherds can just let the cows sort of be free. Has to sort of hang around and know where they are and make sure they come back to the barn at night and all that. But they don't have to be like right there with the stick prodding and poking and in that like very highly engaged kind of mode. So we go through different seasons and cycles of what's going on in our minds and hearts, and we need to respond in different ways at different times. Like it's different before the harvest and after the harvest. And my first version of the reflection had a sort of similar metaphor, but it was about the field itself. The reason I didn't go with that in my final reflection is I would have had to explain about the theory of crop rotation.
Nitrogen.
Yes, I couldn't make it sort of pithy and poetic enough to go into my Dhamma reflection. So I had to abandon my crop rotation metaphor. But but having a little bit more time now, I can explain crop rotation. When you have crops that are growing in the field, they're taking nutrients from the field. They're taking them from the air. They're taking them from the field, and they're building the crop and they're fruiting, and then they're being harvested, and then and then they can be used for the farmer, for the people who are taking them in. But if you're growing the same crop again and again and again, then it's taking the same nutrients out of the soil. And eventually the soil becomes depleted. And if you just plant the same thing every year, every season, then your harvest will be less and less because it doesn't have enough nutrients in the soil. So, today we use a lot of chemical fertilizer to solve this problem. But there have been other methods over time. And one of the older agricultural methods was of crop rotation, where you'd have your harvest, and then you would let the field lie fallow for a season. And fallow doesn't mean that you abandoned it. It means that you're letting it rest and you're letting other plants grow there. You're letting different kind of plant grow, the kind that puts the nutrients back into the soil, nitrogen fixing plants. So these are not plants that you're going to eat, but they're plants that are restoring the soil. And that's what I was reflecting on, like the time of retreat, stepping out from the busyness of like growing a crop and harvesting and all of that, which is like, all of our activities, which are wonderful things. And we had a wonderful harvest in some ways last year. But then the soil needs time to rest. It needs time for something else to grow. It needs time for those nutrients to go back in. And we can plan in this time. And it's valuable and useful to have time that's like that, where you're restoring instead of removing those nutrients. And so we go through these seasons that are necessary, I think, in human life of rest and restorative actions that then allow the next harvest to come, that allow the field to be used again in an intentional way. So we go through these cycles, and all of the parts of the cycle are valuable. All of them are part of our practice, are part of our cultivation. They're part of what keeps us going on the path that allows us to continue. And so, my reflection on emerging is that, it's just the next phase in the cycle. It's not abandoning anything. It's not being overwhelmed with anything. It's the same field. It's the same field of awareness. And the kind of cultivation that you're doing with it changes over time. But the field is the same, and that's the field where you plant your little seeds of awareness, your little seeds of kindness, your little seeds of awakening. And through all the different seasons, through all the different kinds of cultivation, those can be nurtured and can grow and flower and all of that. So, I guess coming out into the spring, then it's like, the time of new growth, new planting, and so forth. And well, I guess I'm ready as I'm going to be for that. And I'm grateful to have had this time of the retreat beforehand, and really grateful to everyone who made that possible. I think it did restore something. I do feel like there's a little more nutrients in the soil than before. So, and I think that that will have benefits in a lasting way. And I've also been, the main thing is to train yourself to be with that field, to be with that soil through all the seasons, training of consistency and continuity. I'm glad to have had that opportunity, and I'm glad it continues. So that's my reflection. And I'd like to open it up if anybody else who was with us during the winter retreat time would like to say anything about their experience. Welcome that. And then in a few minutes, we'll close with a dedication of the merits of our practice time together. But first, would anyone like to share anything? Ask or comment anything? Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, during the retreat, a friend passed, and another one, more or less two friends of mine passed during the retreat, although technically one a little outside of it. And so uh, there was a lot of kind of contemplation and thought around death and passing. And, a couple of things came up from that. I think one is I felt grateful to have a practice for whom death is such a significant part of it, the contemplation of death and the awareness of death, that it's not, swept under the rug or a morbid thing, but that it's part of how one wakes up. And I think also, just kind of being present with the people there. There weren't, in the lives of the family and the friends around these people, spirituality was not really part of the fabric of those people's lives. And there was a lot of suffering, I think, in the lives of the person whose life was ending and also in those who were around them, um, which, was hard to see, I think, and to watch them struggle to sort of make meaning out of this. And I wanted to sort of be available for them, but also I didn't want to come off as pedagogical or preachy because they've come to their own kind of conclusions about life and meaning, at least for now. But one thing I think the experience really made me realize is starting to understand that we really do have the capacity within ourselves to not suffer, and starting to realize that, you know, bad things are going to happen. This is samsara. There's going to be death. There's going to be sickness. But that those actually aren't stronger than our capability to rise beyond them. And I think I've had an inkling of this for a time, starting to think about, oh, yeah, I think this is so. But I think those experiences really kind of drove it home for me and realizing that, oh, yeah, this is possible. Like we can be capable of this. And I think that's been really, really helpful.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah, wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you had that experience. And yeah, good to know how to meet death. And so, sadhu.
Yeah, it's really an amazing thing to think like, yes, this practice really is, I don't know, up to handling anything. It's kind of an amazing thought. And yeah, to really like feel that deeply is, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else like to share anything? All right. Well, you don't have to. Do you want to say any last words?
No.
All right. Well, in that case, we can end just by like to do a little chanting together to dedicate the merits of this retreat time, especially those who join together, but also those joining just tonight. You can join us in chanting for the dedicating the merits of whatever's been good, especially like for joining together with this meditation and Dhamma talk. Going to put on the screen, and you can chant along together. I will ask you to be muted because chanting together on Zoom doesn't work well, but you'll hear us and you'll hear yourself, and you'll know that others are chanting with you too. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration.
Through the goodness that arises from my practice,
may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Sadhu, 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 for everyone's practice. And I forgot to say, our gratitude. Who are we grateful to?
so many people.
We have a list.
We have a list.
We
We have a big long list that we have posted on the wall here that we were going to bring to hold up and we forgot.
We can be grateful to them anyway.
Yeah, so grateful to everyone who was here with us in the monastery community, and those who joined and offered teachings, the monastics who joined and offered teachings from afar, and all the people who participated in the online teachings and the online sittings, and everyone who came to the monastery in person and offered things, and those who volunteered from near or far, and the board of directors who makes all of this run, and everyone who supported in so many ways from near and far with money and with food and with medicines and just everything that supports our lives. And I think especially everyone who is practicing and everyone who's benefiting from these teachings, and in line with what I was thinking about today, really who's trying to really take them on and embody them and make them alive in our world and pass them on. I think that's the most beneficial thing any of us can be doing, and all of the practical support and all of the work and all of the things we do are really just part of making that a reality. So just so much gratitude. I think think everyone who is here in the robes is here because we have felt just the deep transformative benefit of these teachings and this practice, and just so much gratitude for everything that has made that possible, and for all of you for being here tonight.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Oh yes, Anumodana. And we should chant a little more. Akasata Chabhummata Devanaga Mahitika Punyang no Anumodantu Jirang Rakantu Sasanang Akasata Chabhummata Devanaga Mahitika Punyang no Anumodantu Tirang Rakantu Desanang Akasata Chabhummata Devanaga Mahitika Punyang no Anumodantu Tirang Rakantu Mang Parang. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Anumodana. And thank you all for joining us this evening. We'll close by paying our respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. All right. Thank you all for your patient listening, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.